This is America in the Morning from Westwood One. It's Tuesday, May 28th, 2024. I'm Clayton Neville in for John Trout. Here's what's coming up on America in the Morning.
Nearly 24 people have died from Memorial Day weekend storms that devastated several states. I'm Mike Hempen.
President Biden honors fallen heroes on Memorial Day. I'm Shelley Adler.
A 26-year-old man has been arrested and is scheduled to be arraigned for allegedly stabbing 6 people. I'm Jennifer King.
Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky has secured from Spain a pledge of additional air defense missiles. I'm Charles de Ledesma.
On Wall Street, investors are back at it this morning after yesterday's Memorial Day holiday. We'll set you up for the last week of May trading. I'm Jessica Ettinger.
Remembering an NBA legend and well-known American figure.
Mike Tyson is recovering after falling ill during a weekend flight. I'm Lisa Dwyer.
All ahead on America in the Morning. Nearly 24 people have died from Memorial Day weekend storms that devastated several states. Correspondent Mike Hempen reports.
A series of powerful storms swept over the central and southern U.S. this weekend, killing at least 21 people and leaving a wide trail of destroyed homes, businesses, and power outages. Arkansas Governor Sarah Huckabee Sanders says there have been 8 deaths in her state.
The moments that we think are going to be the things that break us are usually and show our vulnerabilities are usually the things that ultimately show our strength.
In Kentucky, Governor Andy Beshear says at least 4 people have died in 4 different counties.
At one point, we believed it was 5, and we have 4 confirmed deaths.
7 deaths occurred in Cook County, Texas, Saturday when a tornado tore through a mobile home park. I'm Mike Hempen.
President Biden gave his annual Memorial Day address at Arlington National Cemetary. Correspondent Shelley Adler reports.
After laying a wreath on the tomb of the unknown soldier, President Biden spoke at Arlington National Cemetery.
We gather at this sacred place at this solemn moment to remember, to honor the sacrifice of the hundreds of thousands of women and men who've given their lives to this nation.
The president also thinking of grieving families.
To everyone who has lost and loved someone in the service of our country. To everyone with a loved one still missing or unaccounted for. I know how hard it can be.
Biden also asked Americans to recommit to a future grounded in freedom, democracy, opportunity, and equality. I'm Shelley Adler.
A nuclear watchdog is raising concerns this morning about Iran's effort to enrich uranium. Correspondent Norman Hall has details.
According to a confidential report by the United Nations nuclear watchdog, Iran has further increased its stockpile of uranium enriched to near weapons-grade levels. Iran is seeking to have economic sanctions imposed over the country's controversial nuclear program lifted in exchange for slowing the program down. The report by the International Atomic Energy Agency also comes against the backdrop of heightened tensions in the wider Middle East over the ongoing Israel-Hamas war. Israel and Iran carried out direct strikes on each other's territory for the first time last month. I'm Norman Hall.
More help for Ukraine, but not necessarily from the United States. We'll tell you which European country is the latest to chip in when America in the Morning returns after this. Back to the grind the day after Memorial Day. We're here to help get you through it. Let's go to Matt Rinde. He's got our forecast. Matt, is another storm moving into the Northwest?
The Northwest will have a cold front moving into the region with several showers along it and even a heavier thunderstorm or two developing in parts of eastern Washington and Oregon into Idaho and western Montana. Strong winds will be the main concern with these storms. It'll also turn chilly enough tonight for snow to fall in parts of the Cascades. The rest of the West will be dry with a good amount of sunshine, while afternoon temperatures near or slightly above the historical average with 70s and 80s in the north and warming to over 100 in the south. The storm that produced showers and thunderstorms in the east yesterday has largely moved off the coast with just a few lingering showers and thunderstorms over northern New England this morning. We're looking at another system quickly moving in with more showers and thunderstorms through the Great Lakes. This system brought a few heavier storms to southern Minnesota and Iowa and Illinois yesterday. As it continues into Michigan and Ohio, there will still be a risk for some stronger winds and hail. It will also be a cooler day from Minnesota to Michigan with highs in the 50s and 60s, which is about 5 to 10 degrees below the historical average. Farther east, this system will produce scattered afternoon thunderstorms in portions of New York and Pennsylvania, but coastal locations will be dry from Massachusetts to Virginia. In the southern plains, there'll be a system moving out of the southwest into Texas, and from that, there'll be some late-day thunderstorms developing and continuing through the night. These storms will have the potential to become quite strong with damaging winds, large hail, and even a tornado. The heaviest of the storms will be in West Texas, but scattered storms will also extend northward to eastern Colorado into Kansas and Oklahoma, as well as to the east through the rest of Texas into Louisiana and Arkansas. That's the nation's weather. I'm AccuWeather.com meteorologist Matt Rinde.
Remember to follow us everywhere you get your podcasts: Apple, Spotify, Amazon, and YouTube. Just search America in the Morning in your favorite listening app. A suspect has been arrested for a stabbing spree in Massachusetts. Correspondent Jennifer King reports.
A 26-year-old man, Jared Reviza from Martha's Vineyard, has been arrested and is scheduled to be arraigned Tuesday for allegedly stabbing 6 people. The victims are recovering with non-life-threatening injuries. Police in Massachusetts were called to a movie theater Saturday evening in Braintree after a man entered the theater without paying, then stabbed 4 girls ages 9 to 17 without warning and ran away. Police identified his vehicle on surveillance footage, and it was spotted at a McDonald's in Plymouth about 27 miles away, where a man and a woman in their 20s were found stabbed. State police caught up to Reviza in his vehicle in Sandwich, another 20 miles south, and tried to pull him over before the vehicle crashed. The suspect is also being treated for injuries. He faces multiple charges, including assault with intent to murder. I'm Jennifer King.
Spain has pledged to provide Ukraine with air defense systems. Correspondent Charles de Ledesma reports.
Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky has secured from Spain a pledge of additional air defense missiles to help fight the about 3,000 bombs that he says Russia launches every month at Ukraine. However, Ukraine still urgently needs another 7 US-grade Patriot air defense systems to stop Russia hitting the power grid and civilian areas, as well as military targets with devastating glide bombs that wreak wide destruction. Zelensky says if we had these modern Patriot systems, airplanes wouldn't be able to fly close enough to drop the glide. Glide bombs are heavy Soviet-made bombs fitted with precision guidance systems and launched from aircraft flying out of range of air defenses. I'm Charles de Ledesma.
Taking issue with the census. We'll tell you about the questionnaire that has some Americans riled up when America in the Morning returns. Stay with us. Today is the start of the final week of trading for May. CNBC's Jessica Ettinger has a look at the week ahead.
Wall Street's back at it this morning after the Memorial Day market holiday yesterday. We're starting the final week of May trading this morning. Investors are loving where things are right now.
People expect a generally positive summer tone in an election year, and you have this patient Fed fitting well with an idea of an economy that's still chugging along but maybe slowing in certain ways. So it is Goldilocks until further notice.
CNBC's Mike Santoli. The old adage, sell in May and walk away, at least so far, wouldn't have worked out for investors this year. The averages are on pace for a winning month. If you have a retirement account with an S&P 500 index fund in it, you're up 5% for the month, 11% for the year. And there's summer optimism out there, too.
Historically, you tend to get a summer rally in an election year. And I get it. Every time's different. But we really think that flush out we had, the 5.5% pullback, minor pullback we had last month, was enough. And now we're back to the bull market and things still look good to us.
The Carson Group's Ryan Dietrich on CNBC. Stocks are higher. Gas prices are lower. Gas Buddy's forecast is for prices at the pump to keep going down all through the summer.
Good news for anyone hitting the road this summer is we expect progressive decreases between Memorial Day, July 4, and then Labor Day. Of course, there are the typical caveats. Mother Nature, hurricane season is a big wild card.
Gas Buddy's Patrick DeHaan on CNBC. Americans are feeling better about the economy. The latest on consumer sentiment out from the University of Michigan.
Maybe the most important aspect of all, University of Michigan inflation gauge. The 1 year mid-month read was 3.5. Now it's 3.3. That is huge. But psychologically, it means a lot.
CNBC's Rick Santelli.
So, Jessica, if the economy is Goldilocks, then where's the pain point right now?
Yeah, it's got to be real estate. The psychology of a 7% mortgage, which, by the way, is lower than the Freddie Mac 30-year average interest rate on a 30-year fixed home loan. It just feels high. It's unaffordable for a lot of people to buy a house.
Home prices overall nationally are 46% higher than they were at the start of the pandemic in 2020. That's new and existing homes. The average rate on the 30-year fixed is still stubbornly over 7% after hitting a record low of 2.76% at the start of 2021. So as a result, 65 million American households cannot afford a $250,000 home today. They just wouldn't qualify for the mortgage. 103 million can't afford the nation's median price newly built home, which is about $496,000. That's according to the NAHB. That's 82% of households.
CNBC's Diana Olick. On today's watch list, we get earnings from Box and Kava. We also get new readings on home prices and consumer confidence.
Certain communities within the U.S. are criticizing some recent changes to categories for future census questionnaires. Correspondent Jackie Quinn reports.
Representatives from a handful of groups say the government effort to revise race and ethnicity standards still don't go far enough. Advocates say Armenian, Black Arab, Brazilian, and Hmong communities in the U.S. are not accurately represented in the numbers the Census Bureau produces. And that could mean they're shortchanged when it comes to budgeting, health services, and political clout. An example, the Census Bureau added a new category, Middle Eastern or North African. But missing from the list of backgrounds were Black Arabs from countries like Somalia and Sudan, and Armenians. Advocates are hoping the subcategories are expanded before the 2030 census. I'm Jackie Quinn.
Remembering an NBA legend, we honor the life of Bill Walton when America in the Morning returns after this. Hall of Fame NBA player Bill Walton has passed away after a prolonged fight with cancer. Often described as larger than life, only in part because of his nearly 7-foot frame, Walton was a 2-time NCAA champion at UCLA, a 2-time champion in the NBA. He was a Basketball Hall of Fame inductee and an on-court icon in every sense of the word. Indiana Pacers head coach Rick Carlisle says his friend and former Celtics teammate was truly a one-of-a-kind person.
He was a living, breathing event in history, just walking around. He was involved in so many events in pop culture, in sports. You know, he played drums for the Grateful Dead in the pyramids in Egypt. You know, he's the guy that did everything.
The NBA held a moment of silence to commemorate Walton's life before Game 4 of the Boston Celtics-Indiana Pacers matchup in the Eastern Conference Finals on Monday night. He was 71 years old. Mike Tyson reportedly doing well after falling ill over the weekend. Correspondent Lisa Dwyer reports.
Mike Tyson is recovering after falling ill during a weekend flight from Miami to Los Angeles. His representatives say that the 58-year-old boxing legend became nauseous and dizzy due to an ulcer flare-up about 30 minutes before landing on Sunday. Tyson is preparing to fight the 27-year-old social media star turned boxer Jake Paul this summer at the 80,000-seat home of the Dallas Cowboys. Tyson was the undisputed world heavyweight champion from 1987 to 1990. He retired in 2005, but most recently fought in an exhibition in November 2020 against Roy Jones in California. I'm Lisa Dwyer.
America in the Morning for Tuesday, May 28, 2024 is produced by Alex Hinton, senior producer Kevin Delaney. I'm Clayton Neville in for John Trout, and this is Westwood One. This is America in the Morning from Westwood One. I'm Clayton Neville in for John Trout. Here's what's coming up this half hour.
Powerful storms over the Memorial Day weekend kill nearly 24 people across the Midwest and South. I'm John Stolness.
A meeting between U.S. lawmakers and Taiwan.
A record number of airline travelers were screened Friday ahead of Memorial Day. I'm Shelley Adler.
North Korean state media reports a rocket carrying the country's second spy satellite exploded in midair on Monday. I'm Mike Hempen.
International hack for hire scheme uncovered by the FBI. I'm tech correspondent Chuck Palm.
Back after these messages. Waking up to some post-Memorial Day storms to pay attention to today across America. Matt Rinde's with us. Matt, where is the storm that moved through the east?
The latest storm system to move across the country through the holiday weekend, starting in the plains on Saturday and continuing through the east yesterday, has largely moved off the coast with just a few lingering showers and thunderstorms in northern New England this morning. However, there is another system quickly following with more showers and thunderstorms through the Great Lakes. This system brought a few heavier thunderstorms into Minnesota and Iowa and Illinois yesterday. As it continues into Michigan and Ohio, there will still be a risk for some strong winds and hail. It will also be a cooler day from Minnesota to Michigan with highs in the 50s and 60s, which is about 5 to 10 degrees below the historical average. Farther east, the system will produce a few scattered afternoon thunderstorms in portions of New York and Pennsylvania, but coastal locations will be dry from Massachusetts to Virginia. In the southern plains, there will be a system moving out of the southwest into Texas, and from that, there will be some late-day thunderstorms developing and continuing through the night. These storms will have the potential to become quite strong with damaging winds, large hail, and even a tornado. The heaviest of the storms will be in West Texas, but there will still be some scattered thunderstorms as far north as eastern Colorado into Kansas and Oklahoma, as well as to the east through the rest of Texas into Louisiana and Arkansas. Meanwhile, in the northwest, they'll have a cold front moving through with several showers along it and even a few heavier thunderstorms in parts of eastern Washington into Oregon and Idaho, as well as western Montana. There could be some strong winds with these storms. That's the weather across America. It'll be mostly cloudy and cooler in Detroit, Michigan with some showers and thunderstorms with a high of 68. It'll be a hot day in Tucson, Arizona with plenty of sun and a high 101. That's the nation's weather. I'm AccuWeather.com meteorologist Matt Rinde.
Remember to follow us everywhere you get your podcasts, Apple, Spotify, Amazon, and YouTube. Just search America in the Morning in your favorite listening app. On the unofficial first day of summer, millions of Americans found themselves in the path of a string of deadly storms yesterday. John Stolness has more.
At least 22 people were killed in Texas, Oklahoma, Arkansas, and Kentucky over the Memorial Day weekend, leaving behind broken families, broken homes, and broken businesses. Arkansas Governor Sarah Sanders mourning the loss of at least 8 people due to the violent storms in her state.
Certainly, it's devastating to see, and anytime you have the loss of life, the loss of homes and businesses, and a community impacted in this way, it's incredibly difficult.
Louisville resident Jim Martin telling WHAS-TV his daughter, son-in-law, and granddaughter were stuck in a car when the storms hit.
Trees were going down left and right, and hot wire came down, got stuck in their wheel well. They made it out, but they had to drive through the grass of a church.
Kentucky Governor Andy Beshear declared a state of emergency early yesterday after at least 5 people died in his state over the weekend.
Communities across Kentucky experienced storms that produced strong winds, multiple tornadoes, hail in some places. The storm knocked out power for thousands of Kentuckians, temporarily shut down numerous roads and interstates, and caused massive damage to homes and businesses.
7 people died in Cook County, Texas, as a tornado ripped through a mobile home park on Saturday. As of yesterday afternoon, more than 400,000 people were without power, including 125,000 in Kentucky, and at least 12 states reported at least 10,000 outages early in the day on Memorial Day. President Biden said FEMA is on the ground working with local officials to aid residents in their recovery. Parts of Texas, the lower Great Lakes, and the Mid-Atlantic will likely be under a tornado watch later today, with hail in the southern plains and Texas today and Wednesday. I'm John Stolness.
President Biden, in his Memorial Day message to the nation, says Americans have a responsibility to uphold democratic ideals. Pamela Furr has more.
The commander-in-chief in a speech at the amphitheater at Arlington National Cemetery yesterday morning.
We gather at this sacred place at this solemn moment to remember, to honor the sacrifice of the hundreds of thousands of women and men who've given their lives to this nation.
Biden, addressing military families who have lost loved ones, says he knows how difficult it can be, but we have a responsibility to be the keepers of their mission to ensure America's democracy endures.
Our democracy is more than just a system of government. It's the very soul of America. It's how we've been able to constantly adapt through the centuries. It's why we've always emerged from every challenge stronger than we went in. And it's how we come together as one nation, united.
Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin and General C.Q. Brown, chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, also delivered remarks during Monday's ceremony, thanking service members and their families. Next week, President Biden will travel to Normandy, France to mark the 80th anniversary of D-Day. I'm Pamela Furr.
Closing arguments are expected to begin today in former President Donald Trump's New York City hush money trial. The former president's facing 34 felony counts surrounding accusations that he falsified business records to keep porn star Stormy Daniels quiet ahead of the 2016 election about an alleged affair with Trump that he denies. The prosecution called 20 witnesses to the stand since the trial started in mid-April. So-called Trump fixer Michael Cohen and Stormy Daniels were among them. Trump's attorneys will present their closing arguments first.
The hardest part for the defense is going to be convincing these jurors that the circumstantial evidence that supports not only Cohen, but the rest of the government's case is just not enough to convict.
In an AP interview, former federal prosecutor David Weinstein, he also pointed to potential strategy by prosecutors.
Showing these jurors that it's not just Michael Cohen's testimony that puts this whole case together, that they have to look at the evidence as a whole.
After both sides have closed, Judge Juan Merchan will read the jury the charge and deliberations will begin. The jury could have the case as soon as tomorrow. A U.S. congressional delegation made up of 4 Republicans and 2 Democrats met with Taiwan's new leader. It was a show of support days after China held drills around the self-governing island, all in response to his inauguration. The Chinese government expressed strong opposition to the 5-day congressional visit, saying it undermined China-U.S. relations and peace and stability in the Taiwan Strait. The new Taiwanese president, who took office a week ago, is expected to continue the policies of his predecessor from the same Democratic Progressive Party. Taiwan's new foreign minister noted the recent Chinese drills and called the American delegation's visit, quote, an important gesture of solidarity at a critical time. It was a record-breaking Memorial Day for travel, and we've got the numbers when America in the Morning returns on the other side of this. Memorial Day weekend saw a record number of people move through U.S. airports. Correspondent Shelley Adler has details.
TSA says more than 2.9 million travelers were screened at U.S. airports, surpassing a previous mark set last year on the Sunday after Thanksgiving. The busiest airport, with just over 104.5 million passengers, was in Atlanta. That's according to Airports Council International, which expects a very busy summer. Their trade group estimates that 271 million travelers will fly between June 1st and August 31st. That would break the record of 255 million set last summer. I'm Shelley Adler.
Authorities in South Louisiana are searching this morning for 2 of 4 men who escaped a parish jail through a perimeter fence. Police say the men slipped through a section of unsecured fencing. Monday, authorities found 2 of the escaped men hiding in a trash bin behind a local store. The other 2 are still on the run. North Korea's attempt to put a new spy satellite into orbit has failed. Correspondent Mike Hempen reports.
The North's official Korean Central News Agency says the launch of the spy satellite happened at North Korea's main space center, but the news agency says the rocket blew up soon after liftoff due to a suspected engine problem. South Korea says it detected a launch trajectory believed to be a spy satellite from the North's main space center, but 4 minutes later, many fragments were spotted in the waters. In Japan's NHK public television reports an image captured by a camera in northeastern China showed an orange light in the sky and then an apparent explosion a moment later. I'm Mike Hempen.
Ukraine has announced it's going to get more support from one of its European allies. Correspondent Norman Hall has details.
Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky has secured from Spain a pledge of additional air defense missiles to help in its fight against Russia. Zelensky says Russia launches about 3,000 bombs every month at Ukraine in the third year of the war. Ukraine still urgently needs another 7 U.S.-made Patriot air defense systems to stop Russia from hitting key targets. Weekend Russian aerial bombs hit a construction supply store and a mall in the city of Kharkiv, causing extensive damage and blazes that had to be battled. There were dozens of casualties and injuries. I'm Norman Hall.
Canadians who had to evacuate their homes because of a wildfire are being allowed to return home this morning. Correspondent Lisa Dwyer reports.
Residents in the western Canadian city of Fort Nelson, British Columbia, were given permission to return home after more than 4,700 people were evacuated for more than 2 weeks due to wildfires. They were forced to leave their homes on May 10th when strong winds pushed the Parker Lake wildfire within a few miles of the town. The wildfire service says that rain over the weekend helped firefighters and that the 47-square-mile fire was not expected to grow. The blaze has not been extinguished, however, and the service says it expects parts of the fire to continue burning into the fall. I'm Lisa Dwyer.
The FBI has its hands full with ransomware and cybersecurity issues, but now they're investigating an international cyber mercenary scheme that may have been going on for years. Here's Chuck Palm in today's Tech News.
A private investigator from Israel has been questioned by the FBI for his work with the Washington public affairs company DCI Group, according to multiple people familiar with the matter. The Fed's interest in DCI has been a years-long probe into cyber mercenary activities and has been much larger than publicly known. DCI is a public relations firm that works on behalf of hedge funds and multinationals and has made a statement that we direct all of our employees to comply with the law. Private investigator Amit Forlit was arrested in London's Heathrow Airport and charged with a hack-for-hire scheme on behalf of several clients, including unidentified PR lobbying firm. He was released 2 days after his arrest following a procedural error by the British authorities. Forlit was later rearrested on Thursday on the same charges and has been released on bail, according to Britain's National Crime Agency. Forlit released a statement through his lawyer saying that he has never commissioned hacking and has never been paid for hacking. Leave your comment at allthetoptech.tech. I'm Chuck Palm.
Robert Workman has sports.
The Boston Celtics are back in the NBA Finals after rallying past the Indiana Pacers 105-102 for a 4-game sweep in the Eastern Conference Finals last night. Indiana surged ahead by 9 with 8.5 minutes to play, but for the second straight game without their star Tyrese Halliburton, they could not hold a late lead at home, making just 4 short baskets the rest of the way. Meanwhile, Boston got contributions from the whole cast. Derek White's 3-ball with 45 seconds left put them ahead to stay.
I felt like I got a good look and just wanted to stay in the shot and knock it down. Just stay confident and was able to make one.
Jaylen Brown had a game-high 29 points. Jason Tatum, 26 points, plus 13 rebounds and 8 assists. Tonight, the Mavericks go for the sweep in the West at home against the Timberwolves. Stanley Cup playoffs, Jason Robertson's hat trick led the Stars past the Oilers 5-3 in Edmonton to take a 2-1 lead in their best-of-7 West final.
Want to help the team win, you want to score goals, and definitely think scoring one gives you confidence, gets you ready to go, like a domino effect.
Tonight it's Game 4 of the East Final, the Rangers at the Panthers. New York leads that one 2-1. Baseball, the Rockies ended the Guardians' 9-game winning streak 8-6. Charlie Blackmon capped a 6-run fifth with a 3-run jack.
I thought I'd hit it kind of low, but this is the first time we've played in anything that resembles summertime weather, I think, so I think that might have helped a little.
Orioles routed the Red Sox 11-3. Kyle Stowers with a 2-run double to spark a 5-run fourth, then a 2-run single to cap a 4-run seventh. The Birds have won 5 straight. Reds marooned the Cardinals 3-1, Cincinnati on its first 4-game winning streak of the season. Padres turned 2 Tim Anderson errors and a bases-loaded walk into the go-ahead run as they nipped the Marlins 2-1. Blue Jays hit 3 dingers to whack the White Sox. Brewers broke open a scoreless game with a 5-spot in the 8th to crush the Cubs. Willie Adames with a 3-run shot. Twins turned back the Royals. Big flies from Jose Miranda and Trevor Larnach, just enough to withstand a KC rally in the 9th. Nationals jumped ahead early on the Braves, scoring 4 in the first and pounding out 15 hits in the victory. Giants doubled up the Phillies. Mariners held off the Astros. Dodgers and Mets were rained out. They'll play 2 today. Much maligned umpire Angel Hernandez has announced his retirement effective immediately after over 30 years in the majors and more than a dozen correct calls. Tennis, 14-time French Open champion Rafael Nadal did something on Monday he'd never done before. Lost a first-round match in Paris. 4-seed Alexander Zverev won in straight sets in what may be Nadal's final French Open. The winner of 22 Grand Slam titles turns 38 next week and says he wants to return to the City of Lights for the Olympics in July, but his playing future beyond that is unclear. And safe home to Bill Walton, basketball legend, 3-time College Player of the Year and 2-time national champion at UCLA, then MVP and 2-time NBA champ in 1977 with the Portland Trail Blazers, who drafted him number 1 overall 3 years earlier, then in 1986 as the 6th Man of the Year with the Celtics. Chronic foot injuries derailed the 6'11" center's pro career, but he was inducted into the Naismith Hall of Fame in 1993 and then spent 20 years analyzing games on TV. Bill Walton, voted to the NBA's 50th and 75th anniversary teams, succumbed to cancer at 71. That's Tuesday Sports.
More trouble for Live Nation and Ticketmaster. That headache continues when America in the Morning rolls on. After this. We're learning more this morning about former General Hospital actor Johnny Wachter's death. He was shot and killed this week in L.A. Correspondent Alex Hinton has details.
According to the Los Angeles Police Department, Johnny Wachter was shot and killed early Sunday morning when he interrupted thieves stealing the catalytic converter from his car in Los Angeles. His mother says the actor had left his current job at a rooftop bar with a coworker when he saw a group at his car. He yelled at them, thinking it was being towed. It was at that point that a mask-wearing suspect opened fire. 3 suspects then drove away from the scene, and Wachter was rushed to a hospital where he later died. So far, no arrests have been made. Upon the news of his death, Wachter's agent said that he was, quote, a real moral example for everyone who knew him. He was 37 years old. I'm Alex Hinton.
The Department of Justice filed a lawsuit against Live Nation Entertainment and Ticketmaster seeking to break up the alleged monopoly, Attorney General Merrick Garland announced on Thursday.
The Department of Justice, joined by 29 states and the District of Columbia, sued Live Nation Entertainment and its wholly owned subsidiary Ticketmaster for violating the Sherman Antitrust Act.
The complaint alleges Live Nation engaged in anti-competitive practices, bullying artists and venues while forcing fans to pay higher prices.
We are not here today because Live Nation Ticketmaster's conduct is inconvenient or frustrating. We are here because, as we allege, that conduct is anti-competitive and illegal.
The Biden administration signaled an offensive against high ticket fees almost 2 years ago.
Fees that were never disclosed. And there was no way to avoid the fee, like processing fees for concert tickets.
However, things didn't ignite until the concert behemoth was overwhelmed by fans trying to buy tickets for Taylor Swift's Eras Tour. Now on its international leg, Swifties have discovered that depending on the circumstances, it could be more economical to fly to another country than to attend the event back home. Now there's another legal thorn in Live Nation's side. In a New York court on the same day as the DOJ announcement, Abraham Leifer filed a class action lawsuit against Live Nation. The case seeks $5 billion in damages for potentially millions of concertgoers around the U.S. I'm Kevin Carr.
Correspondent Margie Zaraletta reports there's been a switch up to the weekend box office after the Memorial Day totals came in.
I want them back. Furiosa is claiming victory over Garfield. Furiosa, a Mad Max saga, earned $32 million domestically over the 4-day weekend, according to studio estimates. The Garfield movie earned $31.1 million. Both had claimed to be the #1 film for the weekend. It was one of the worst Memorial Day weekends in decades for movie ticket sales. Box office sales were down 22% from last year. I'm Archie Zaraletta.
America in the Morning for Tuesday, May 28, 2024 is produced by Alex Hinton, senior producer Kevin Delaney. I'm Clayton Neville in for John Trout. And this is Westwood One.